Welcome back to Straight Facts. I'm joined by a man like Big Steve. How are you, my friend? How are you?
Superb, my mate. Superb, you?
Mate, I'm good. Football's going okay. I'm not looking forward to playing you in the FA Cup final. We haven't really mentioned that in the last few weeks. I'm sort of keeping my head down with that one. We'll talk about that later, but feeling good. It's been an interesting week, which we're obviously going to delve into everything. But I'm really happy right now because I'm going to message a man like Grizz Khan in a few moments and just ask him what's happened to Jude. I don't know about you, but I've had a number of messages in the last few weeks just saying, hey, Jude, every time Liverpool have been linked. But as the news has come out this afternoon, it's practically a completed deal. Jude Bellingham to Real Madrid. Is that where you expected him to go? And do you think it's a good move for the young man?
I know City was in for him 100% from people I spoke to at the club. I think we were there. I think we put the offer in that we thought was right. The kid's not short of offers, obviously, you know what I mean? But if it looks like he's turned to Real Madrid, then it's Real Madrid, isn't it? You know what I mean? Fair play. Real Madrid, if you think about it, they missed out on Mbappe, Haaland. Are they going to miss out on Bellingham if they really want him? I don't think so. So, listen, he's young English talent. He's got the world at his feet. He's got the choice of clubs. If he's chose Real Madrid, then fair play to him. I mean, the Liverpool fan base, he got a bit mad, you know what I mean? They were twerking for him because he went to a concert with Trent. He was signing because Steven Gerrard took him to Nando's. He was signing. That made me feel a bit sick, like. But at the end of the day, you know, he's got the choice of clubs in the world. And you're looking at Real Madrid and you look at Liverpool's situation now, and you can't blame him for choosing Real Madrid, to be honest.
No, you can't. And look, I remember when he posted a picture of him and his dad for his dad's birthday, and there was a 7 on the t-shirt. He's coming to Liverpool because he's mocking United for the 7-0. And I thought to myself, come on now. Like, there can't be a sensible Liverpool fan on planet Earth who believed that for a single second. When I knew the writing was on the wall for Liverpool was when the club came out via the media and said, it's too much money. The narrative of we need 3, not 1 midfielder. But you've always needed 2 or 3 new midfielders, and you always knew the price of Jude Bellingham. You always knew it was going to be north of £100 million. In my opinion, and this is not a dig at City or Liverpool because I'm very much consistent when it comes to my club, I just believe he said to City and he said to Liverpool, I want to go Madrid. And this is what club PR is, that clubs then pull out and say, actually, we weren't that interested, or it's too much money, or, we've got like sort of bigger fish to fry would be a better phrase to use right now. Big up Don Robbie. And I don't like those deflections. And regular viewers of they hate it when I say it about their club. They laugh at me when I say it about United. But Darwin Núñez rejected Man United for Liverpool. We were working on that deal. Gakpo and Man United was moving along, but I think Gakpo rejected us for Liverpool. So I keep the same energy for everybody. The man's picked Real Madrid. Why would he not? In most people's eyes, the biggest, the most prestigious club in the world. They've got a midfield to die for. Camavinga, Tchouaméni. They've got Valverde at the club. Now Jude Bellingham. They are set. If these boys all develop in the right way, they are set for the next decade in midfield. And I also like the English player staying abroad as well. I love Bellingham at Man United, and I don't want him to go to a rival. But I actually think England as a football team would benefit more from more of our players playing abroad. I look at Sancho, and it hasn't worked for him at United. Should have stayed in Dortmund, done a few more years. Stayed out there as an example. Jude Bellingham's doing it. I would advocate more of our players at a younger age to move abroad and come up through those systems. Because typically speaking, the German system and the Spanish system, they produce better technical football players than we do, generally speaking. Obviously, Pep's kind of bucking that trend massively at City right now, but not everyone can play for City. So but I think it's a brilliant move for him. I'm really happy Liverpool are not getting him from a Man United fan's point of view. But a big summer now for Liverpool, I think, because Milner's out on his way out, which means there's another natural hole. Thiago, everyone said he was going to be a crock. He's injured again. No Jude Bellingham. They need those midfield players now because otherwise they're going to be in some big trouble. And their fans are angry, even if they don't want to. Some are pretending not to be, because summer after summer they've not spent big. and they kept on promising them Jude, and now they haven't got it done. And I think this is a message to all clubs and all fans of clubs. Don't buy into the bullshit PR from your club. Demand the players now. None of this is okay. We'll come back in 12 months. Because the world changes in 12 months, Steve, as we all know.
No, listen, you can't knock the kid for going Real Madrid. Real Madrid, listen, if you're going to ask me from a City point of view, you know, they wanted Erling Haaland, but we got him. So I'm happy with the one we got. He's broke every record standing in his first season in English football. Never been done since World War I, before that. So as a City fan, you know, Big Earl chose us. I'm happy with that. If Bellingham's chose Real Madrid, let him get on with it. He's only a young lad. You know, you don't know the financials involved. We don't know. Listen, I'd love Jude Bellingham at Man City, of course I would. But am I going to moan about it? No, because my club's run proper. I wanted Alexis Sanchez at my club, but we turned it down because United offered more money, so it wasn't right. So at the end of the day, we've walked away from a few deals because it hasn't been the right money. And we've always bounced back and gone for another target down the line. So I just trust Man City Football Club, mate. I'm happy with what we're doing at the minute, the way we are in the league. We're on for a FA Cup, Champions League semi-final. So as a City fan, Jude Bellingham isn't at the front of our minds at the end of the day. So if he's chose Madrid, good luck to him. You know, he's English lad. I watch him for England and I wish him all the best.
Mate, I agree with you. When we had Fergie at the club and we missed out on targets, and we did, even before the Glazenomics came in, when we missed out on Shearer, when we missed out on Batistuta, when we missed out on Paul Gascoigne, I'm old enough to remember that. I was always comfortable because I trusted Sir Alex Ferguson and how he and David Gill and some people before him run the football club. I also understand why Liverpool fans are a little bit more frustrated because for the past couple of years, I mean, they were run very well in the Klopp's early years with Michael Edwards there. But since he left, they've been a shambles behind the scenes in terms of their transfers, the money they've spent, the players they've renewed. It's really gone to pot behind the scenes at Liverpool, and it's damaged what Jurgen Klopp has done this year. And there's a super chat here, actually, that says, disagree. Paul Joyce said Bellingham was keen to come to Liverpool and also have news that Bellingham wanted Liverpool. Yeah, look, Paul Joyce is going to say that because he's been told that by Liverpool. But from my point of view, even if that's true and he wanted to come to Liverpool, they should have spent that money last summer when they had a chance. I don't disagree that he was keen to come to Liverpool. But then Real Madrid came along and turned his head. And no football club will ever admit that out loud. Most football fans don't have the balls to say it out loud. I just don't care. Like, it's not banter to me that my club gets rejected by a player because all clubs, all sizes, as Steve just said, Haaland rejected Real Madrid last year. That doesn't make Madrid a small club. It doesn't make them feel puny. Only weak people projecting feel puny about their club not signing a target because it happens to all of us every year. Some of those players go on to have great careers. Some of them go on and flop. And that's why I don't mind being rejected sometimes. I'd rather play the long game with the banter. And if a player flops, how much more fun do you guys have at City? Who do you think's crying City over Maguire, Fred, and Alexis Sanchez? All turned down City for Man United. Or we managed to get them in front of you. Who's laughing now?
Money talks, man.
Of course
you had to throw the dough. You throw the dough at it, get him there, no problem. So, but look what happened. I don't think any one of them players would say they made a great move. So, you know, it is what it is. Things happen.
I understand.
You're doing their own thing. We know where we need to be. We've got Gundogan and Bernardo in that midfield. If they come out tomorrow and said Gundogan and Bernardo have renewed the contracts, they're going to stay another couple of years, that'll do me. That'll do me. And then we're happy.
You guys are looking at other midfielders. One name that's come up in the last few days, and I think it's because Guardiola praised him, is Declan Rice. Is that a player you'd like to see at City?
To be honest, I don't know, because Calvin Phillips and Declan Rice playing for England, great. They look brilliant together. Calvin Phillips playing for us is shit. End of story. He can't get in the team. Pep doesn't trust him. We need to see out a game against Fulham, 10 minutes to go. You should be able to bring on a £50 million England international to slot into midfield and tick the game down, give Rodri a rest. He can't. Rodri's got to play every single minute possible because he doesn't trust Calvin Phillips. Last season, we had a 37-year-old Fernandinho who he trusted, could come on for 10 minutes, see the game out. Calvin Phillips, you don't trust. Now, I spoke about this on my own show, on my own channel, whether is it a case of do we give Calvin another year and he beds in and because we all know the Pep system's tough? Or is it like we made a mistake, let's move him on? If we was to maybe sign Declan Rice for Calvin Phillips and money, then I think we're getting a better player than Phillips. But I don't know if Declan Rice is the answer because he's not better than Rodri. He would never be as good as Rodri, in my opinion. So we need someone that's going to maybe a bit of different kind of midfielder to Rodri. Maybe like with Jude, where you can pick the ball up and drive with it and see that pass. Rodri, the amount of times Erling Haaland makes a run in front of him and you think, give him the ball. But Rodri just can't do that. He's not that player. Kevin De Bruyne, he finds him. Rodri, no. But listen, Pep's not stupid. He gave away Romeo. He sold Romeo Lavia because he didn't think Romeo was up to it. And he brought in Phillips. And Romeo would have done a better job than Phillips at the minute. So whether City go in for him end of next season or what, I don't know. Get him back, I don't know.
I did read that you had a buyback clause for Lavia. He's a player. I mean, I know he's only 1 year in, and it's sometimes you don't want to get carried away with a player in their debut season because coaches and tacticians haven't had a chance to study them enough, and maybe they find a weakness in their game that they can exploit. But he looks serious. He's a player that I'd like United to look at in terms of bolstering our midfields. But I do look at this Jude deal and think it's going to have a knock-on effect, though. And I think if City go in for Declan Rice, it does the same thing. I think Arsenal have agreed these terms with him, whether it's indirectly or directly. I don't really care for the semantics. I hate all this. Personal terms will be no problem. Or why would there be no problem? Because they fucking agreed them. Just say they're agreed. Like, no one cares if you're right or wrong in the end. Like, real football fans don't care. But if you guys go in for him with Jude Bellingham going to Madrid, I think it slowly starts to increase the price of all these really talented young midfield players. If Chelsea sign Lavia that they're linked to really early in the window, as an example, if McAllister goes to Liverpool.
How much did Chelsea pay for Fernandes?
Enzo Fernandez, I want to say it's about 120 million.
But looking at him last night, it's not worth 120 quid. So, that's all we need to say about that. There's a lot of good talent around Europe. If you don't panic and shit yourself and throw money at it, you can get bargains.
Yeah, 121 million he costs.
And what we've seen in the Premier League at the minute, is he worth that?
No. But no, I hear you saying that, but this is the thing. What someone's worth and what clubs are forced into paying for one reason or another. And I think that as more of these players get purchased, they become more scarce. When there's scarcity, prices go up. And I'm intrigued to see what happens with Declan Rice now, because Arsenal have been in this position before where players want to join them. They've agreed the personal terms. They're flirting with the club. But then the price of the player starts to go up, or another team comes in and starts bidding and pushing that price up. And Arsenal don't quite get it done. And I think that's going to be the nervousness for Arsenal fans now. If Man United get new owners, which I think is going to happen, whether it's Sajim or whether it's the Qataris, either are going to spend money. Like, I want the Qataris, but I still think Sajim would spend a lot of money. It's going to be really interesting to see where he goes. And I do agree with you, by the way. He won't be as good as Rodri. I think Rodri is ridiculously good. But I also think Declan Rice wants to play in a different position. Declan Rice has spoke a lot about wanting to be more forward, drive forward more, play nearer the opponent's box rather than being a DM.
I don't see the goals in him, though. I don't see that dynamic in him. I see Jude playing for Dortmund in England, and he gets forward a lot. He's in the box a lot. He's creating chances, and that Declan, especially for England, he's always side to side and backwards, very safe. And whether if he went to City or maybe United or Arsenal, maybe he could get that freedom. I know West Ham's a different kettle of fish; they're under a lot of pressure. I know he's a good player, but he's definitely got to move from there this season to get his potential fulfilled for me.
Yeah. No, I agree with you. And I think when it comes to signing for City, there's such big expectations on that move for him, because it's City. You're at the top of the tree in England. You may be at the top of the tree in Europe and England combined by the end of this season. You do get a little bit of time to bed in. You absolutely do. But the expectation is massively higher, and you don't get that much time. Pep Guardiola, what I love about him, there's no sentimentality in that man at all, really. He'll say something emotional when Aguero retires, but he knows he can replace him. He doesn't do what we've seen Arteta do in the last few games, where should have dropped some players, have done him well this season, but he's almost like, no, you've done me well, I'm going to stick by you. There's no way, after the two results against Liverpool and West Ham, that Partey would start for Pep. Pep would have made a change. Does that make sense? And I think that's why when you sign for City, you've got to be able to handle that pressure. You may get a year to bed in. You might get that. If it's as bad as Calvin Phillips' first year, he's gone in the summer, in my opinion. And he did that in his first 2 years at the club with you guys, if I'm not mistaken. The guys that absolutely stunk the house out, they're almost gone within a year, within 2. So, yeah, big pressure on him. I think Declan Rice to Arsenal is the right move for him. Chelsea are a mess. There's no point going there. It's going to take years. I think there's maybe a little bit too much pressure when it comes to City with who you're replacing and who you're next to. But I feel like at Arsenal, he'll be their best midfield player. So there's almost a different feel to that. But we'll see what happens and how much it costs. But it's going to be a lot of money. It's going to be a hell of a lot of money. I do want to ask you a little bit as well. Actually, sorry, the super chat I want to do. It says, well, we all know what is going to happen. A moment's silence for the Scousers at Anfield. Well, there is breaking news right now as well from Fabrizio Romano saying that Liverpool are in advanced negotiations on the players' side to sign Alexis McAllister and have presented their project to the player and are confident they can sign the player. Costing a deal with Brighton won't be an issue. So there is, I mean, the fact that news has come out straight after this Bellingham one, again, I'm not saying it's PR per se, but it's like, right, fans will be angry. Let's get the McAllister news out there straight away.
If you've got a football brain and half a brain, you can see that shit happening.
Yeah.
When United got rid of Ronaldo, when they sold him, within fucking 24 hours, the Glazers made a statement saying we're looking at options to sell Man United, and all the minions went yes, and all went running around and giddy as fuck. So the fact that your biggest legend fucked off and said that your jacuzzi stunk as shit, and he found Eric Jemba's underpants in his locker, that just went under the carpet. So that is how these young football fans with no brains, think these days, and that's what they do. They move on to the next story and get excited. And that's all that's happened today. Liverpool get linked here and there. Fabrizio's on a top whack from football agents and clubs to spin shit. You know what I mean? If you want something spinning under the carpet, pay Fabrizio 500-600 quid and tell him to drop a tweet out there that you're interested in him, and it soon gets washed away. We're not daft.
No, listen, I hear where you're coming from completely. And the thing is, when I say same as what you're saying, it is PR, but it's strategic. So I'm not allowed to mention his name because he works because he got an NDA, but he told me, and he works with us at Snack Media. He's actually left now. He's gone on to a very, very good job, I think, with an NBA company. And he was one of the chief press officers at one of the top 6 clubs. And every weekend before games, they would have news that was due to come out the following week, a player signing, new sponsorship deal, but they would hold back news. They'd sandbag it. Purely for the reason, if we have a bad result this weekend or a scandal comes out in the papers, we need something good to release to counterbalance that news. So often, like, a player would sign a new deal on a Wednesday afternoon, but they have a big game on a Saturday. They wouldn't announce the new signing. They'd do all the pictures, all the interviews. They'd wait until after that game. And if they won the game, it was like double bubble, great news. He said, but if we had a bad result, lost 3-0, fans were angry, you give it a day, and then you release that a player loved by the club has signed a new deal. The clubs are doing this all the time. So, and that's why for me, I get annoyed at football fans who get suckered in by it. Listen, the news could be real, but it's like, don't let it take your eye off of actual issues that are going on. You know what I mean? And I think that the club fans need to be far more on the neck of their clubs when things aren't going well, because I think we're a little bit too sort of lackadaisical at times with that. I do agree with you, mate. Speaking of lackadaisical, I do want to get your take. I know we've only got like an hour or so today. I know we've mentioned them before, but 6 games, 0 wins, 0 draws, 6 defeats now for Mr. Frank Lampard as the Chelsea manager. Are you surprised he's still here? Or still there?
You know what? I sat there last night. I thought, I'll watch this game. Fancy maybe Chelsea. They're backed into a corner. You know, they're getting a bit of heat. Maybe they can go there, express themselves. Arsenal are on a rocky patch. I thought maybe Chelsea can do something. No. It was disgusting, that, Terry, last night. And if I'm a Chelsea fan, I'm actually fuming, because I looked around the pitch and Raheem Sterling, you know, not the same guy. Ober up front, joke. You're better off putting Mudryk up front with his pace and saying, right, we're going to go long ball over the top of Arsenal all day and let you go one-on-one with them. You got more chance of doing that. He was shocking. The goals they conceded were poor. There was no fight there. N'Golo Kante driving from midfield, running into dead ends. It was just everything about the place just stunk. And I've got a few friends at Chelsea. They were at the game last night. One left me a voice note this morning, and he's absolutely distraught with it. And he's like, but listen, you're not going to get sympathy from anyone else in this Premier League when you go out and spend 600 million. You're rubbing it in everyone's noses how much money you've got, and it made you worse. So at the end of the day, Chelsea are not going to get sympathy from no one, nobody. At the end of the day, your owner's gone out there. He's thrown a shitload of dough at it, thinking that's how you do it. It's not worked out. You've got Graham Potter in. It didn't work out. Now you've gone 10 steps backwards and got Frank Lampard in because he's a legend who is absolutely out of his fucking depth. So just stood on the touchline because he's Frank Lampard, and the fact that everyone won't slag him off because he's a legend. And where does the club go from there? And at the end of the day, it's bad decision making. And people say to me, oh yeah, anyone can win anything with money. If you give me 600 million, I'd win the Premier League. Well, Chelsea's had 600 million in one fucking window and they're absolutely dog shit. So all them people that talk shite about money, anything can do anything with money, you clearly can't, because you can't fix Chelsea. They're in a worse state now with 600 million than they was before. And I fear for them, Terry. I fear for them. I think they've got to clear the decks out pre-season. You've got a lot of big money players that ain't going to leave, because why should they leave? You've got some players that are getting 30% off the contract knocked off because they're not in the Champions League, so they're going to see their ass. And you've got to get a manager that's going to come in, A, get time, B, want to fucking undo all that, and C, try and make it successful. It's not going to happen.
Mate, do you know what's crazy about it? Like, they've annoyed Julian Nagelsmann. He didn't want to be... He sort of looked at it, why am I being interviewed in the way you're doing it? Luis Enrique flew over instantly, ready to take the job now. They've gone, no to him. They said that Pep and them had great meetings 2 weeks ago now, that was, and nothing has progressed. And you're right. Listen, I'm someone that looked at what they were doing. They came in, spent big. They went right. We didn't see eye to eye with lots of people at the club. We're going to move them out and bring more football minds in. They went for Graham Potter, and look, it was an experiment and it failed, but we want to build a project. We want to give somebody time. And then everything they've said is right, in my opinion. I wasn't even someone that thought the idea of the contract lengths they gave was wrong, because it helped them avoid FFP, to a point where UEFA's gone, fuck, that's a good idea. We better change the goddamn rules before other people start doing it. But it's just not worked. And, everybody lives and you learn. And I look at it now and think, there's obviously something going on behind the scenes that has damaged the mood and the motivation at the club. And as you've said, if they don't get this, I think if they get this next managerial appointment right, if they clear out the dead wood, if they, allow the manager and football people to make decisions, and Todd Bowley essentially fucks off and stays completely and utterly away from anything football related. The man's giving Ted Lasso speeches before and after games. It's an atrocity. It's an atrocity that he's doing that. If they do that and get it right, a year or two, they can recover. They'll be back in around Champions League. They've got money. If they keep meddling and they screw this summer up, let's just say Poch don't come in until announced late June, early July. They don't sell enough players. They don't address the midfield issues. I worry for them, because if the players are as downbeat and unmotivated next year as they are right now, they'll get relegated. And as much as that sounds like a warped take, the players they've purchased, the players at Chelsea, are not built for relegation battles. Even the players that have come from smaller clubs, they're of a certain caliber and talent through their career where they've always been tipped to go on and be stars. And I don't mean that with any disrespect, but they are not cut out for a relegation battle or to be down the bottom of the league. You can tell that by the lack of performances in the last few weeks. There is no dog in them. There's no fight in them. And if they don't get this summer right, they could be in absolute trouble next year. If there was 5 more games this season, they've got 4 left. If they had 5 more, I truly believe they'd go down.
Yeah,
and it would be the biggest travesty in the history of English football for a team who have spent what 600-700 million pounds to go down. And I don't think it's inconceivable next year if they have a disastrous summer. They can fix this. They can turn it around because it's 1 year of absolute shenanigans. They can turn it around. But when 1 year turns to 2, turns to 3, it becomes a much bigger problem. And, Chelsea fans right now, I know they want the season to end, but they've got to be on the neck of their club. Don't be buying any of the nonsense PR. You need Todd Bowley out of football making decisions. You need 15, 16, 17 players gone, bare minimum. You need a goal scorer. You need that midfield bolstered in the summer. If you don't do all those things, it's going to be another very, very long year, in my opinion. Very long year for him.
Yeah, well, I've said what I needed to say about it. They've spent the money wrongly. There's no plan. They shouldn't have got rid of Graham Potter for me. I think, how can he do what he needed to do in that time when you've got a chairman buying whoever he wants? He needed a full season. You might as well have kept him, written this season off, had a full pre-season, let him do his job. We know he's not a shit manager. They're stepping backwards, but look, they were one of our rivals in the title races and top fours. So if they fall off for a few years as a rival fan, there's no sympathy. If Manchester City did what they did, everyone in this league would be laughing their bollocks off and saying, look, a Man City spending 600 million and you're 10th, 11th. No, Terry, it's true. They would do. But the fact is, we're not like that. And we've got plans and things in place. And that's why we're still in the title race. We're still in the FA Cup final and we're still in the Champions League semi-final. And we're not getting smoked off Arsenal with no bollocks at the Emirates. Simple.
Mate, 100%. Like, this notion that you just need money to win is crazy. For years, as a kid, Fergie has all the money. And the irony is he was only the top spender. I mean, he wasn't even in the top 3 spenders of all time in the Premier League by the time he retired. And I think we only spent the most in any given summer, 3 out of his 25 years at the club. But he was still always accused of being a checkbook manager. If he didn't have that budget, he wouldn't have won. But we've seen loads of clubs have money. Spurs, in Fergie's time in the Premier League, only spent £50 million less than Man United. Liverpool spent 80 million more than Man United in that period and didn't win a Premier League. So having money isn't the be all and end all. It's, as you say, it's your plan. It's how you spend it. It's about who you bring in. There's so many other factors that I think fans too conveniently forget, if that makes sense. And they just want to discredit Pep Guardiola and say, check, the easy thing to say is he's a checkbook manager. And, he, without all that money, he wouldn't make it. But I always say this about Pep, and I say it with respect to him. He's earned the right to be at the best clubs in whatever country he goes to based on his achievements. Why? Look, I would love to see him take over an old, when AC Milan could be that club. I'd love to see him take over an AC Milan and get them back to the peak of their powers. I kind of love to see him do a project in that way. But at the same time, he doesn't need to. If he leaves City at the end of this season, next year, year after, and the best club in Italy with all the money wants him, why say no to it and take on a project where there's a lot more problems, where a club isn't run as well? Like, he's earned the right to not do that. So, no, I completely agree, mate. I really do. But, yeah, it's going to be a big year for them. There's a comment here that says, will Chelsea be able to sell enough? Do you think they'll be able to get rid of enough people?
No, I think they're going to have to do some deals because people know that they're desperate. So if they come knocking on my club or I wanted a player from there and they tried to tell me a certain price, I'd be playing them like a fiddle, me. I'd be saying, nah, can't, no, we'd have to do this, do that, or you pay this and pay that or whatever. But I just think they've put themselves in a position where they're not powerful enough anymore. You know what I mean? When you start having to get desperate to get players go, it gets tough out there.
Mate, I agree with you. Man United got to that point. Like, United was so powerful in the transfer market. There was always a lot of respect. And then Woodward came in, started pissing people off or making people laugh at him and the club. And we lost all respect. And it became not impossible to sign players, but it became a hell of a lot harder. People weren't taking us seriously. And I think that for me, like, maybe that's what Chelsea are going to go through. And yeah, they just need to keep on. The Chelsea fans just, when I say don't buy the PR, I say it from experience. In the first 3 or 4, 5 years after Fergie, I bought a lot into what the club said. Oh, well, Simon Stone has said it, or this journalist has said it. Oh, this is going well. That's going well. Even the club, when we sacked Ollie, said, Ollie has built a team. The process is essentially complete, and the next manager will take us on to the next level. The next manager you brought in, I've got no issue with Ten Hag, but needs to completely rebuild the squad because his ideology is different. Therefore, there was never a plan. And we've been lied to so much. And I'm just saying to Chelsea fans, I know you want to, a lot of football fans think if I toe the party line and say what I'm meant to say, what looks good, what sounds good, I'm a proper fan. For me, and your club's been through some hard times, so you'll get this. When your club's struggling, fans need to be honest. Having a go at your football club isn't being a bad fan if your club is doing things wrong. In my opinion, like you're a dad like me. If your kid's being naughty or doing something that's wrong or embarrassing, the worst thing you can do as a parent is be like, I'm not telling them off, they're my kid. Like I treat my club in that with that same logic. I will be harsh with you and have tough love with you when you're doing things wrong. And I think fans that overprotect their clubs, they let their clubs get off of anything. So Chelsea fans need to step up and be proper Chelsea for a minute and really focus hard on it not going wrong. But it could be, as you say, a mad summer for them. It could. This year says Real Madrid had Benzema already. Haaland knew Madrid wasn't firing. A few Madrid fans in the comments saying that Haaland didn't reject him for you.
Yeah, it's always the way, innit? If anyone never goes Real Madrid, it was always that, yeah, Real Madrid didn't want them or out like that. But we all know the truth.
Speaking of your manager, though, I wanted to ask you. He has stated that Arsenal have won the biggest trophy in the last 7 years because they've made it back into the Champions League this year. Is he serious that top four is a trophy, or is there a bit of trolling in there, do you think, from Pep Guardiola? How do you see it as a City fan?
Listen, Arsene Wenger was the one that made this thing about the top four being the massive achievement and sometimes more important than winning cups and stuff like that. Pep said it a few times over the years, not just this year, about we celebrate when we get in the Champions League because of the owners and the money and things like that. I mean, as a football fan point of view, it's a sad state of affairs when you like to think that that's what people go for rather than trophies. But you've got to be realistic and realise that the money in football runs the game. So they want to be at the top table. So to them, getting in the Champions League and being at the top table, if you're not there, is a big achievement. It is. The season Arsenal have had, been top of the league for 250 odd days or whatever it is, to finish the season with nothing but Champions League, then I'm sure the Arsenal fans will try and spin that into something positive. But if you've been every game watching Arsenal home and away and you finish the season with nothing after the roller coaster you've been on this season, you're not going to be happy with that.
Yeah. There's been a big debate this week. And I wanted to ask you this. I'm not even sure who started it now because I've seen every channel in the world debate it. So I wanted to run it by you. Man United finished third or fourth and win with the Carabao Cup. Is that a better season than Arsenal challenging for the league title? Because there's a big debate that challenging for the league title but winning nothing is a better achievement than coming third or fourth and winning a League Cup and maybe an FA Cup as well. How do you see it? What's your perspective on that?
To be honest, I don't get into this we've had a better season than you thing. I think if you're a Man United fan and you've been to Wembley and you've watched your team lift a trophy and you finish in the top four after the last few seasons you've had as a Man United fan for what you should be having as a Man United fan, you're going to be happy. And if you're an Arsenal fan and you finish in the top four after the season you've had, where last season you failed to get in the top four and you thought it was going to be a long season, I think they've got to be happy. And I think there's far too much rivalry about concentrating what other people are doing and is their achievements better than yours. But me as a match-going fan of Man City go home and away, I only care what happens with me this season. And I've been to 50 games this season already, home and away, 50. And my best days of the season are still to come. So if we finish with a trophy, somebody said to me the other day, if you won the Premier League and won the Premier League and the Champions League, and you lost the FA Cup to Man United, that'd be a bad season because you didn't win the treble. I said, hold on a minute. All of a sudden, the fucking treble now becomes the most important thing in the world. But for the last 20 years, every football fan has said to me, Champions of Europe, you'll never sing that. So if we win the Champions League and the Champions League only, that is an outstanding season for Manchester City Football Club. Outstanding. And nobody can take that away with your shit analogies about trebles. No one in Manchester City is mentioning a treble. I've said it to you before, Terry. One game at a time. We were 8 points behind Arsenal. And this shark was going to get blown up. You've seen the ending of Jaws when the shark gets blown up. And we're top of the league. Best team in the league. financial abomination, one-horse race, all that shit that AFTV was saying. And all I said to him was, there's blood in the water and there's a shark right behind you. And the fucking arses fell out. And then last week, we're coming to the Etihad. Don Robbie had to walk round the Etihad, yeah, for a team that are top of the league, by the way, who was 8 points clear, had to walk around the Etihad and say to people in every country that support Arsenal, please believe that this team can do it tonight. So is that a man that's fucking confident in winning the title? Yeah. Because I walked around the Emirates, stood there in front of them all and said, there's blood in the water and there's a shark behind you, and fucked off. I didn't have to beg the fans in Singapore to go and pray. And I didn't have to beg the fans in Malaysia to hang the lucky underpants out so they get a result at the Etihad. By the way, you got fucking hammered. And so at the end of the day, you know, they're not confident. And when I said it to you on this show, fragile FC, yeah, built on a pack of cards. I was fucking right, Terry. I was right. I walked out the ground. A big strip toe was coming out the city end, out the away end, and he looked like he was going to die. I had to calm him down. I had to give him a cuddle. I said, "You're all right." He went, "You're better than us. You're better than us. Fucking better than us, Steve," and all that. We've gone off. I seen him last night. He's giving it like, "Yeah, we're top of the league again. It's not over till it's over," and all that. I thought, these guys are up and down like the fucking big one at Blackpool, man. I tell you, mad.
Mate, like, on this stuff around my season's better than your season, like, as you said, for me, it isn't something I sit there and think about. I talk about it when my audience says it to me in my comments, or I watch another content creator kind of bring it up. It's never really something I sit there and think, right, I'm going to ask the question tonight randomly out of nowhere, who's had the better season, Man United or Arsenal? Because for me, these things have always been obvious. I think it's close. So I think if Arsenal stay close to you now and don't fall away and collapse even more, being in the title race is a brilliant place to be. It's a very good season for them, all things considered. They have fouled at the end. They've got to learn from that. There's things to take away from it. Man United have won a trophy. We've got into the Champions League, which is beyond the expectations that were placed upon us this season. I'm happy with that. You're right. If City don't win a treble, it's not a bad year for you. If you're
the only team that gets judged on a treble now,
mate, but this is what fans are doing now at all clubs, and I didn't realize that anyone was saying that to City fans, and now I do. It's almost like people project their own frustrations from their own club. Like whenever I say now, Man United, like Erik ten Hag in his first season at Man United is overachieved. In my opinion, based on everybody's predictions that they said we wouldn't win anything and we wouldn't be in the top four, the fact we're there is on merit. I've seen Arsenal fans this week say it's only because it's a crap league. Their managers come out and said it's the most competitive Premier League season in 22 years. Now, I don't agree with Arteta. I don't think it's been the most competitive in 22 years, but it has been competitive. But Man United have, at this stage of the season, in the last 22 years, would only have been outside the top four once in 22 years on this amount of points. So we're there on merit. Arsenal haven't had a disastrous season because they had those bad 3 games and you guys overtook them. It only becomes bad if next year they fall off and they fall away again. There's too much hyperbolic analysis. There's too much trying to shit on each other's clubs where sometimes it's become boring for me. I'm not going to lie, it's become boring. If City win just win the league this year, it's still been a very good season because everybody in the Premier League would swap with you to be Premier League champions. And I know for a fact that most teams in England, probably barring City, would swap with Man United this year to be in the top 4 and to have won a trophy. And we all know this. I just don't know why fans spend so much time and energy now kind of lying about football principles. Does that make sense? Not even trying to change them, but lying. They've done it this year with Haaland. Haaland's goals are good, but they're all tapping, so they don't really count. I've never heard
it though,
bullshit.
This is what I'm saying. How pathetic is it? Like, there's only Erling Haaland who can come to this league, and instead of embracing it and people saying fair play to him, man, there's always an if. Yeah, but it makes you worse. Yeah, but I could score that many goals in the City side. But I could do this. But I could do that. Well, you name all the top strikers in the Premier League history: Thierry Henry, Ruud van Nistelrooy, Van Persie, Sergio Aguero, Alan Shearer, Andy Cole, Les Ferdinand, anyone you want to name, yeah? And he's beat them all. He's beat them all. Every single record. He's beat them all already in the season. So he deserves his props. So all this nonsense about tappings, it doesn't matter. Because if you tap it in at the back post and you win 1-0, you still win 1-0. If you hit it from 30 yards and it flies in the top corner, you still win 1-0. So Listen, I'm enjoying watching the best number 9 in the world. He's probably going to be the best number 9 I've ever seen. And yeah, life's good on the blue side of Manchester at the minute. We can't lie.
I get that. Someone here says I'm a weird guy because it's called rivalry. I get the rivalry. And maybe I'm an old man. Maybe that's just what it is. Maybe I'm old and maybe I don't get it. But the banter's shit. You say it.
You say fucking boring, draining, childish fucking shite banter.
You turning round to a City fan, if they win the Premier League and Champions League, and if your banter's going to be, but it's a shit season because you didn't do the treble, it don't hit hard, bruv. It's awful.
Let me tell them people, 25 years ago, when I was at Main Road getting slapped up off fucking Doncaster Rovers or something like that, and somebody said to me, you know, you're in this position now, watching this football with this striker, and I thought you were just deluded. Do you know what I mean? So for me, personally, I don't care what happens. You can't drag me back down to them levels of hell I've already been in. So every season for me in the Premier League's a bonus. So
100%. This here is right. I love you, Terry. Thank you. I love you too. But rivalry, we hate City. Yes, but then say something in banter or in the discourse that rattles the City fans up and actually gets them. Because if an Arsenal fan says to me, if we win the FA Cup as well, and an Arsenal fan or a Liverpool fan says to me, and I state that I think we've had a massively overachieving first season with Ten Hag, and they go, no, you haven't. It doesn't hit me because I know there's no amount of banter that takes away the success of this season for Manchester United. You've got to find something that makes me rattled, i.e. Noel Gallagher saying that Fergie never invented anything in football and never won in another country. I'm not going to lie. That was good from Noel Gallagher because that got me rattled. I mean, it's completely and utterly wrong. Listen, I love Noel Gallagher. Like one of the, I wouldn't say the best. He's not the best half of Oasis, but he was class. But that got me. That was a good bit of banter from him, though.
You know,
saying that a double, a Premier League European Cup double, isn't a good achievement. It don't hit hard, bro. That's all I'm saying.
Get on this, yeah. On Saturday, Fulham, yeah. Gene Gallagher, Liam's son, was supposed to come to the match with me, yeah. So if he's watching, yeah, he knows. He was pissed up, yeah. Him and his bro, pissed up, supposed to come to the match with Big Steve. They rang me at 12 o'clock. Oh, we're just getting out of bed and that. I said, yeah, but you're going to miss the kickoff. You ain't going to get to Fulham at this time. So I sold the tickets, right? Next time, whatever, let him get in bed. When I got in the ground, yeah, Noel Gallagher was 2 seats in front of me. Could you imagine how awkward that would have been? So you would have had Gene Gallagher and sat with me and Noel in front. So I think that was God's way of saying, nah, it's not meant to be this game, leave it.
Yeah, someone here said, Terry, yeah, I understand that, but here's why I don't agree. Well, yeah, I can understand someone's logic. It doesn't mean I agree with it. It's called layered thinking, the Bourbon Kid. This is my favorite comment from this guy that says, what does he say? Terry, you're not as intelligent as you believe. I'm not stating to be more intelligent than you. I'm saying that it's shit banter for a team that's been successful to say it's not really successful because they haven't achieved the greatest achievement in the history of English football. So that by that logic, this is what. Do you want to know why it's dumb banter? And maybe it's because it's boring. It basically means that every season, if you set the standard now of winning the treble is only the only thing deemed as success, it pretty much means that when another team wins a league, it won't be successful. Nothing's successful then, unless you do a treble. All you end up doing, it's a bit like cancel culture when you push it too far. All you end up doing is confirming that at some point in the future, you get cancelled. If you put out dead banter and unrealistic expectations and keep moving goalposts, no team ever gets to celebrate success. And it's always just this free-for-all bullshit of trying to one-up each other. And you actually stop focusing on the football as opposed to assessing that and debating how good teams are and how good they're not. You end up doing what Noel Gallagher did. Fergie never invented anything. What, like rotation? Like taking alcohol out of football? Like, just to name 2 things. Man was using false nines in the 90s with Ryan Giggs before the word false nine even existed. Let's have a football debate about it. Not just, right, you've said something stupid about my club, so my response is going to be, oh, you've got breaches. Like, that shit. It's not a good response. Debunk what's being said at the very least. I just get annoyed at the continual, like, again, childish playground banter of like one-upmanship on each other. You know, the same gooners out there that are saying you can't say we only had a good season because City were off the pace and Liverpool dropped, are literally now saying Man United are only in the top 4 because Chelsea and Liverpool dropped off. I just sit there flabbergasted that you've spent months online arguing your case, but the exact same argument used against you, you're now using against Man United. Maybe I'm boring and old, but for me, that's just dead. It's just dead for me. That's all I've got to say on that one. But there we go. Terry, what about your rubbish banter? That ain't funny. No one complains about it. Well, 4.5 million people keep showing up, so you don't mind that much. I'm just saying. Noel is a fool. Yeah, we know Noel's a fool. Good musician, though. Good musician. As an Arsenal supporter, we couldn't beat a weak individual, not team, by more than 5 goals. Worries me. I don't know about that. I think you took your foot off in the second half against. You took your foot off the gas in the second half against City, so I wouldn't worry yourselves too much about that one. Steve, do you think Haaland is better than Mbappe?
Totally different players, aren't they? You know, Erling's a good number 9, best in the world. Mbappe, wide, pace, power, also best in the world in his position. So it's hard to compare them.
It is. There is actually a report coming out this afternoon from Germany that if Sheikh Jassim buys Manchester United, the 3 players that are on the top of his wish list are Kingsley Coman, Camavinga, and Kylian Mbappe. As great as that sounds, we've been linked to players like that in the past and bought them. It hasn't always worked. I'm not going to get ahead of myself, but that wouldn't be a bad summer. There's some serious skill and speed that would come in there, but we will see. I would love that though. I'd love Mbappe of course, I'd love Mbappe at United for United, but it would be amazing for the Mbappe Haaland argument to happen in the same league, in the same city. Like I think that would just add to all the rivalry. Do you know what I mean? Like what Barca and Real Madrid had with Messi and Ronaldo. That would just be.
You've got Rashford anyway, best in the world.
Yeah. Fuck you. No, listen, like Rashford's brilliant. He's just a level below those two, though. He's a level below those two, but
yeah, level below, then down the elevator, down the stairs to the next level, and then carry on to the next level, and about round there somewhere. Yeah,
it's a slight notch, only a little bit below those guys, only a little bit below them. Rashi's great. Yeah, I mean Haaland when it comes to goal scoring, he's just doing things. Again, people hate me praising other clubs' players, but Haaland is just doing things. I expected this though. That this is something I predicted. Why I wanted. I know he's gone for different reasons now, but there were Man United fans saying 2-3 years ago before he went Dortmund, "Don't go for Haaland. We've got Greenwood." And I remember saying to them at the time, Greenwood was a brilliant talent. There's no doubt. But I said, look what Haaland's doing in comparison. He's better in work. Like I know he was doing it in Austria, but then in the Champions League, he was killing it against everybody. With RB Salzburg, I couldn't believe what I was hearing, and I'm so annoyed we didn't sign. We should have done anything we could to have got him before he went to Dortmund, broke the bank, because he's essentially a cheat code because he just scores at a level that we have not seen in England. He might break Dixie Dean's record, and if he does, he's scoring at a level never seen in the history of football.
Don't forget though, Dixie Dean played every game and every minute. Pep takes him off after 50 when he scored 3.
This is true. When I say ever in football, I'm talking English football here. Unprecedented levels, and I don't get how people. I mean, he's hold-up play recently. The hold-up play from Haaland.
It's improving.
He's a young player. He's getting better, and yeah, listen, this is the thing. Someone actually said the other day that you're not going to be able to beat City to a title unless you have like equal players to the likes of KDB and Haaland. Well, if Man United do get Qatari owners and they want to spend, remember our income is massive. They're going to get us new big deals. Like you've actually got to go out and try and sign someone like an Mbappe to compete with the goals that somebody like Haaland is going to score. You're going to need to do that. It's as simple as that. Yeah, we're going to need to. Or it doesn't need to be Mbappe personally, but we need to bring someone in, Harry Kane, who can come in and score lots of goals, because that's the difference. That players like him are just an absolute cheat code, as you say. But there we go. What does it say? Does Real Madrid hate City that much? I think they do. Do Real Madrid hate City? Have you ever heard that?
I don't know. They keep beating us, so we'll see next week. But I don't. Hate's a strong word, isn't it? I don't think so.
No, I agree. Here, that shot at Don Robbie was unnecessary. He's a fan doing what fans do. And didn't Steve say, pay attention to your own team?
That's not a shot at Don Robbie. I say that to his face every day. I send him great white shark pictures every morning and at night. He blocked me, and he's a good friend of mine, so there's no hate there. But I don't have to walk around the Etihad begging my supporters to get back in the title race when apparently we was out the title race and they was in it. That's all I'm saying.
Yeah. Well, you ain't got to do that. You could just text all 14, 15 City fans. You'll be all right, wouldn't you?
Yeah, you see the Etihad last week? You see it? There's some United fans there last week, culture cams and all them. Oh, fucking hell, message me. Whoa, the Etihad's underrated, man. I said, did you see it? It was crazy down there. Traps booming. Where are you, Steve? It looked like there was a disco going on. I said, yeah, it's underneath the South Stand, man. We're having it right. People can call Man City all they want. Unless you've been there and seen it, talk nonsense, man.
No, I get you. Guess on this stream, you say Guess on this stream, say anyone said this and anyone does not expect this. Some of us keep our powder dry, talk for ourselves.
That's fine, but the ones that have got a platform are talking hell of a lot of fucking nonsense. So we're on a platform, so we're going to bring up the ones on the platform. We're not going to bring up you sat in your bedroom who's keeping your thoughts to yourself.
Yeah, do you know what I would say as well when people call each other out? Like, me and Expressions had a little back and forth recently. People are like, oh, you're going for each other. I'm like, no, we're sending each other messages and voice notes off air, laughing and joking about it. It's not beef. It's just people that are all different level of friends. Do you know what I mean? Like, you know, I know Robbie quite well. You know, there's a lot of gooners I know, you know, that I message when things go on. Everybody thinks there's a beef. There's no beef. It's just people that, you know, and this is the thing, like me and a gal clash a lot, but we're good. We're boys. Like, oh, I can't believe you speak to him like that. Well, that's how, in my experience, men, especially as friends, that's how they get with each other sometimes. But it isn't personal. No one cries about it even 10 minutes later, let alone it becoming a beef online. That's just a weird thing for me. Like, have a little bit of fun, have a bit of banter, and then you kind of move on from there. In terms of the league now, though, mate, do you think it's done for you lot? Are you confident now you'll get it over the line?
Listen, they've left the door wide open. We said it, you know, you can't drop 9 points in the last 10 games to a Manchester City team and expect, you know, not expect to get your arse burnt in it. So at the end of the day, they were coming to the Etihad. All of them were coming. We're going to show you what to do. It should have been 6-0 at half-time. Yeah, should have been 8-1 that game. Easy. We absolutely dominated them off the park. Zinchenko, arse fell out. Gabriel Jesus didn't want to know. Thomas Partey, completely destroyed. We'll press Man City at home. You pressed us. We went long, Edison, long ball straight to Haaland, one touch into De Bruyne. They can't live with us, mate. We've played them 3 times this season and beat them 3 times. But apparently they're better than us. We win our games in hand. We're top of the league by 4 points. We know what we need to do. Get the job done tonight. Get the job done Saturday against Leeds. Big one against Madrid. We'll see how it goes, you know. But I think City will drop points soon. Maybe a draw somewhere. It always happens. But, you know, with that little bit of a buffer that we've got in the game in hands, I think we win it.
Yeah, I can't. A few Gooners predicted they would drop off from this point, like maybe not win another game. I didn't quite see that. I think, you know, they've got to finish the season well. Don't let it fizzle out. I just don't see you dropping enough points right now. I mean, I want to see your form wane a little bit towards the end of the season because that trip to Wembley is you know, moving closer and closer, quicker and quicker. And I want us to be in better form and maybe you to drop off a little bit because your form in the last month has been imperious. It really, really has. But yeah, I think you're Premier League champions now. It is what you've done. It's the pressure you put on Arsenal. But those 3 draws they had before playing you, that just killed them, and the momentum's not there. I mean, if you guys did slip up from this point, West Ham grabbed an unlikely draw tonight. I always remember that game we had against Palace. They went 1-0 up, and then I don't know which defender it was. Someone got sent off, and they beat you. If something like that happens tonight, suddenly then maybe a little bit more pressure with everything else going on. But yeah, I can't see you not winning it personally now. I think it's done and dusted. And you know, I think you guys will, you know, slowly start to focus more on the Champions League and making sure you get that over the line this year. Because since those dressing room pictures were leaked, that City fans can't no longer say that it's not a goal to win the Champions League. Like Pets, it's massive for you lot, and rightfully so, because you've been one of the best teams in England for the best part of a decade, and you want to move into. For me, again, it's my terminology, but you want to move into that greatness category, and winning Champions Leagues takes you from being a domestic powerhouse to being, towards being a European great, and you deserve the football you play, what you've achieved domestically. I think you deserve it. I hate saying that as a United fan.
What you've got to realise is this season, Pep Guardiola, he's had to change his side 4 or 5 times. He's had to come up with a solution in the season while the season's on to why this team wasn't firing, why Haaland wasn't getting the ball, why we wasn't scoring goals, why we weren't creating chances. And he's gone from a false 9 to an out-and-out number 9. And he's gone from fullbacks, pacey fullbacks, to a flat back 4 of centre-backs. And then he's inverted John Stones into midfield. So he's found the solution during the season to get the job done. Whereas most managers would stick to the philosophy and let the season peter out and then blame it on a transitional period. He tinkered with it, which could have gone wrong, but he tinkered with it during the season, found a solution, and the way we're playing at the minute, we look unstoppable. So, but that's why he's the best manager in the world. That's why he comes up with them solutions in the middle of the season and gets the job done. Everybody thought Arsenal ran away with it. City had dropped off too soon. But I think, 17 games or something now without defeat. So, listen, we're on a great run. Tonight, we've got to do the business against West Ham.
Yeah, no, absolutely, you've got to. And I see someone in the comments say, why am I simping? It's not simping to admit the truth. I mean, the irony in it is, if I say Arsenal are going to win it, you call me a simp. If I say City are going to, I'm going to be called a simp. If I say Man United are going to come out of nowhere now and win it, you call me crazy. So what do you want me to do? Say nothing? That'd be a fucking weird show, wouldn't it? Again, terrible banter. It makes no sense in reality. It's all banter and games until they win the treble. And listen, each to their own. Do what you want. But if you want to get under what Steve has done to Arsenal fans with the shark, the way he kind of calls out the false confidence, that's great banter because it's rattled them for real. Saying you only did well this year because Liverpool dropped off, it might annoy some Arsenal fans, but no Arsenal fan believes that, so we don't hit them hard. Like, do better with the banter. Like, banter's great. I want to see the banter, but I like it when it's good and original. Yes, Terry, it's either you banter or you and take it, or you don't. You can't complain. I love the fact that Man United banter us Arsenal fans. It reminds me of the good old days of the 2000s. And some banter's good. Like when someone loses the game, you banter them for losing the game. But people always kind of want to go too far. And where I get annoyed, I've already said it, and I don't want to go over the same ground again. It's when it's like the same thing you're defending about your club, you're criticizing others for. So one of the reasons this year, I've had so much shit this year for backing Arsenal a lot on streams, when I've seen a lot of lazy journalism about them. And even though in the streams I've said I'm not doing this directly to protect Arsenal because I love them, I'm doing it because when you allow a lazy journalism to exist and thrive, eventually it comes round and they attack your club with it, and your club loses status or legendary figures or standings within certain areas because that type of journalism becomes the accepted form. But instead of football fans pushing back against lazy journalism, like calling Pep a checkbook manager or saying Fergie's never won abroad, well, he won in Scotland, accepting that kind of talk, all that's ever going to happen is it'll come back to screw you in the future. And I just don't enjoy it personally. Each to their own. City are winning because of money, not because of history. I mean, no, history wins nobody nothing. Man United have got history.
Nottingham Forest have won 2 European Cups. Yeah, they've got great history. Yeah, why aren't they winning?
I know. Thank you, bro. Though for the super chat, it means a lot to the channel. City do not need the Champions League to take them to the next level. They have been the best team in the world for 5 years now, but they've failed for one reason or another in Europe. Do you agree? Do you agree with that, or do you think to crown yourselves you need the trophy?
No, listen, we want to win it. We're in it. We're getting to the later stages every over the last few years. We want to win it. You know what I mean? I'm not going to. I've been to Dortmund, Leipzig, Seville, Copenhagen, fucking Bayern Munich and Real Madrid next week. Do you think I'm going there just because I like going on these cultural away days, or do you think I'm actually going there because I want to win the fucking Champions League? Do you know what I mean? Of course we want to win the Champions League. That's what we're there for. So, you know, we're doing it. We're trying our best. We're getting behind our manager. We're getting behind the team, and hopefully we can do it. That's all we need to, you know, we need to say.
No, I listen. I agree. I disagree. Listen, I appreciate you, Bacon Fang, as a member of the Terrace, but you do need to win it. You know, you could be the best. Look how good England are in the last 20 years. England in qualifications and in friendlies leading up to World Cups and Euros have often got themselves ranked into the top 1, 2, 3 teams in the world, but flopped and flopped and flopped. You have to win trophies. You can't be the best team in England without winning the league. I don't think you can be the best footballing team in the world, but to cement yourself as we've been the best team in Europe for the past 5 years, you've got to have won European trophies, dominated your league. You've got to have all of that collectively, I think. But personally, I do anyway. So, yeah. This super chat here says, did Big Steve ever see the end of the movie Jaws?
People presume when I'm talking about sharks, I'm talking about Jaws, but no one ever mentioned Jaws. Do you know what I mean? But Jaws ate quite a few people in that film before he got his comeuppance. So we'll carry on eating this season, and then maybe one day we'll get our comeuppance. I'm sure we will, but it won't be off this lot.
There we go. This is from Fuad, who's a City fan. It says, we are trying our best to win the Champions League and Premier League this season. People still hate us because we are the most successful club in England for the past 5 years. That is true. Whenever there's success, though, hate comes.
Listen, let me just tell a message to Fuad. Fuad, no one will ever like us because it's jealousy. They're all jealous. You know, whether we sign Haaland, Bellingham, win the league, the treble, the FA Cup, whether we win the Costa del Sol Trophy 2024, they still won't like us. So all you need to do, Fuad, is concentrate on your own team, Manchester City. Realise that all the fans like you because you're a City fan. Don't care what anyone else says. Keep watching the Blues and take it with a pinch of salt.
There we go. There we go, Fuad. Some life advice there from a man like Big Steve.
Tell all these young kids all the time, they get upset about it and that. And then they say, I'll go to school and people say this about City. I say, try going to school when I went to school, when I had Jamie Pollock running around in midfield and Man United had Paul Scholes and we were playing Gillingham and you were playing Barcelona, Cup Winners' Cup and all that. So listen, no one can tell me about school being in the centre of Manchester with all them United shirts, mate. You know, but this is one thing I say in life, yeah. United fans say to me, Manchester United ruined your childhood. And I say, yeah, they did. But Manchester City is now ruining your adulthood. There's grown men out there divorced and falling out with the kids because Man City's ruining their weekend. So I'd rather spoil my childhood, yeah, and have a happy adult life than the other way around.
Do you know what? And this is the thing with the jealousy. You always get it, and I've experienced it. And again, I've never been someone that's really been jealous of. Jealousy is not really a trait within me, and I'm very lucky and fortunate. You know, I remember like when I used to go to Trafford, and you Man United fans, fuck Chelsea, the money, and I'm like, it just doesn't bother me. If we run ourselves properly as a football club, it won't matter to a certain degree. Man United have spent as much as City in the last decade. If we were run as well as you, in my opinion, you wouldn't have won all these trophies. Because if we were run right, we should have signed Pep before you. We should have had Pep, not you. And the reason Pep's at City is because Man United didn't have their ducks in a row, didn't have their house in order, and we missed out on him. And that's why, from my perspective, I don't get jealous. I look at my own self. I don't look at a man doing better than me in life and go, screw him. He's only there because of these reasons. I look at myself and go, right, well, if I want to be there, what do I have to do every day to get to that level? Work at it. That's just how I operate. And I think if someone here says, Terry, you hate City as much as we hate United. No, I don't like City, the football club, but I'm not jealous. Not liking them and wanting them to win is different from being jealous. And maybe that's why I don't participate in the schoolyard banter, because I'm not jealous of them. I dislike them. My job, though, is to be neutral. I literally have a contract with my partners. I'm not allowed to sit here and just say, screw everybody, and they're all crap. And I'm not allowed to do that. I need to be objective, okay? So I just let my inner self, my real feelings come out, and I'm objective. But I don't do jealousy. I see anyone, like one of my biggest things in the world is seeing, especially, I'm a bit biased. I like seeing working class people do well. See a working class person do well. I'm like, can I buy from your business? Can I help you? Can I, well done. Can you give me some advice? I don't hate on it. Even if I see City doing well, my view is, why can't my club do that? I focus on my club and put the energy there, because my club failing is part of the reason City are doing so well. We've fallen off. It's allowed City to get away with being this good without being unchallenged by me. I don't want Arsenal and Liverpool challenging them. I want my club doing it. We have the money to do it. We just haven't been run right. And that's what people should be focusing on, rather than taking shots where the shots are only coming from an angry place. Speaking of shots, this here said Haaland sucks. Can't even score 100 goals this season. Overrated. Obviously sarcasm. But yeah.
Listen, I've got to go now because I'm going to West Ham.
I know you have, mate. I know you have. Some of these super chats are making me die. Steve, listen, mate. Always a pleasure to speak. I know you got to shoot off to the game. This year, I know you got to go to the game. Debbie here says, at least City is not PSG. With City, Pep will never allow a boo to Messi. Well, Messi's done one, isn't he? He's running away. He's off. But there we go. Thank you, Debbie. Steve, always a pleasure to speak to you, bro. I'm sure we'll be back next week at some point. We'll work it out. I know, obviously, I assume you're going to Madrid.
Yeah, I'm going to Madrid on Sunday to Thursday.
Okay, so we'll work out a time when you're back to get the show done. Viewers, make sure you hit the like button before you leave and subscribe. Oh, V here says, Steve, I had a good childhood with Man United. In my adulthood, with maturity, we all know it's just a game of football. So enjoy fixing your deprived childhood.
The fact that you, grown adult man, has had to pay for a super jack to tell me that clearly shows that you have got issues with your adulthood, mate. So crack on. But cheers for the super chat. Anyway, I'll get a beer with that tonight.
VV3. I love it. More of the same, please. I love it. Listen, everyone who's tuned in, thank you. Please hit the like and share button before you leave. Take care. Goodbye. God bless. And we'll see you all again